In this video, I'm going to talk about a very interesting fact, and it's that nobody really knows how AI works. So recently I came across this interesting article on MIT Technology Review, and I think this is addressing a very important issue that we must all know about. So nowadays, probably you've seen many different video tutorials about all the amazing things that could be done with AI, and everyone is so excited about it. But the reality is that we don't know exactly how the technology behind these AI tools work. So I put the link to this article in the description. If you're interested, you can go through all of it. As you can see, it's pretty recent. It was published on 5th of March. And in the beginning of the article, it discusses the problem of hallucination that a lot of large language models have. For example, there were some failures with the Google's Gemini that refused to generate images of white people, specifically white men. Instead, users were able to, generate images of black popes and female Nazi soldiers. And, Elon Musk was saying that this is just too woke and it has a woke bias and things like that. And in the end, Google apologized and paused the feature. Or it also happened to me that I asked a programming question and it came up with a library that doesn't exist, and it just tried to, make things up. So that's a very important matter that exists in a lot of large language models. Or recently, Microsoft's Bing Chat told a New Yorker Times reporter to leave his wife. And the customer service chatbots keep getting their companies in all sorts of trouble. For example, Air Canada was recently forced to give a customer a refund in compliance with a policy its customer service chatbot had made up. And this list goes on. It's actually very crazy, all of the things that are happening regarding this hallucination problem. And it needs to be addressed. I don't know what have been done regarding this problem, but this is something that is really serious and we have to, come up with a solution for it somehow. In this part of the article, it says that many tech companies are just launching new AI products every day, and they have no idea why in some situations they have an unpredictable, behavior. And nobody knows why deep learning is working in such a way. And the theories that we had up to now, it seems like that they don't really work. And this problem is more discussed in this article, which I have it open here. And I prefer to go through this one as well a little bit, and then we can go back to the previous article. But basically, in this article, it explains that how OpenAI noticed that they can train large language models that are so powerful. And apparently, it was by accident. So Burda and Edwards, that both of them work at OpenAI, left some of their experiments running far longer than they meant to, days rather than hours. And then the models were just retraining themselves. And at some point, they started to get things that they couldn't get before. And, this phenomenon has a name. It's called grokking. So basically, they found that in certain cases, models could seemingly fail to learn a task and then all of a sudden just get it as if a light bulb had switched on. And this is crazy because the theories say another thing. Later on in the article, down here, it discusses the problem of overfitting. So overfitting means that if you train a model with some examples too much, it will overfit. So for example, it will learn what is a cat, but it will only detect those cats that you showed it. So if you show the image of a cat that the model hasn't seen before, then it cannot, detect it. So it will be an overfit model. But apparently, it doesn't work that way. So here they discuss the difference between the large language models and small models. So with the small models, the overfitting happens when you train it for longer than it should, or when you're introducing some small sample for a long time, and then this happens. But with big models, this is different. So in an article in 2018, Belkin and his colleagues found that when certain models got bigger, their error rate went down. So imagine if it's a U shape that it starts with a high error rate, and then you train it, and then the error rate gets smaller, and then it gets higher again, and then it gets overfit. But with the big models, that's not the case. At some point, they start to have a lower error rate again, and it will be like a W shape instead of a U curve. And it's crazy, and they have no idea how it works. They came up with some theories, but in the end, they noticed that they are far from what actually happens. So in this article, they discuss this more, and in the end, they say that we don't know how these models learn many languages, but it is what it is. So let's go back to the previous article again, and so then the article talks about some of the mysteries of these large language models, such as Gemini and GPT-4, that they can learn to do something they were not taught to do. You can train a language model on math problems in English and then show it French literature, and from that, it can learn to solve math problems in French. So that's crazy. Like, sometimes these models really surprise us. But it's important to know that because we don't know how these models exactly work, they're prone to many disadvantages. So it says, don't fall into the tech sector marketing trap by believing that these models are omniscient or factual, or even near ready for the jobs we're expecting them to do because of their unpredictability, out of control biases, security, and vulnerabilities, and propensity to make things up. Their usefulness is extremely limited. So that's kind of, right, because, you cannot really control the behavior of these models, and maybe they learn something about a user and some users, and then they just expose that information to another person. And because we cannot really know what is happening inside those huge models that are made out of a lot of parameters, billions, and I think in the near future, trillions of parameters, we cannot track how these models make decisions. So the process of decision making is pretty vague in those models. So in the end, it says the focus of the field today is how the models produce the things they do, but more research is needed into why they do so. So I think that's the most important part of this paper. You can see that a lot of people are just pretty excited about all the new tools that are coming every day, but it's important to know about this side of AI as well. For example, in this other article, at some point they were discussing that we don't know what capabilities GPT-5 will have until we train it and test it. It might be a medium-sized problem right now, but it will be a really big problem in the future as models become more powerful. So, I mean, this is crazy. We're making something and we don't know what would be the consequences. And we have to pay more attention to this matter. So I think at this point, we have to increase the awareness of the users who are using these tools to know that these models can make things up. They are prone to make mistakes, and you shouldn't, really trust them that much. And also in this article, at some point, they discussed the word artificial intelligence, saying intelligence and then somehow trying to convince people that these things that are made are really intelligent might not be a very good idea. They say even the name of the technology, artificial intelligence, is tragically misleading. Language models appear smart because they generate human-like prose by predicting the next word in a sentence. The technology is not truly intelligent, and calling it that subtly shifts our expectations, so we treat the technology as more capable than it really is. And I think this is also very important. So I just wanted to share this with you guys, and hope you've enjoyed it. And if you're interested in more videos like this, that I just go through the AI news and say my own opinion, just let me know in the comments. See you in the next one.